So I just did a conversion to a Suzuki Samurai. I took the original 1.3 fuel-injected engine out, and I put a 1.6 8 valve fuel-injected engine back in. And boy, she runs good. Yeah, what a difference. Unbelievable. I mean, you use half the throttle to do the same thing. It's amazing. So a few things that I wanted to go over, some things I learned in the process. These kits are available. These adapter kits are available online. I got mine from Trail Tough, and what it is, it's a metal plate that goes between the engine and the transmission. It allows the wider 1/6 block at the bottom. The block is wider at the bottom. You can see it there. Than the original transmission mount holes. The top holes are the same. So, but the plate works great. Trail Tough products, and you can get them other places. That just happens to be where I bought mine. Then you use the original mount on the engine from the 1.3, bolts onto the 1.6. I put on new motor mounts. Now these motor mounts are from a late 80s 318 Chrysler. I put those on there because they use a bigger bolt and they're a little bit thicker rubber isolator. I don't know if you can see this side or not, but maybe. Yeah, they're a little thicker than the original Suzuki mounts, so you get a little bit more isolation. That part number I will get. It is an engine number. It is a anchor number 2469. 2469 Anchor is the brand name of the mount. So now, when you go to this 1.6, you have to switch over to the Serpentine belts. The 1.3 Suzuki used V belts, and the reason you got to switch to a Serpentine belt is because the bottom crank pulley uses 5 bolts to bolt to the crankshaft, where the 1.3 uses 4. So you can't put the V-belt pulley onto the 1.6 engine. You have to use the bottom crank pulley from the 1.6. So when you just remember, when you buy an engine, you got to get the pulleys, you got to get an alternator or at least a core, because it also uses that same V-belt pulley, which is different from the Suzuki. And if you got air conditioning, which this guy does, you got to be sure that you get an air conditioning compressor that has the flat style Serpentine belt style pulley on it. So you want to buy all that. You want to get it out of a donor car that has everything. So okay. So as far as that goes, I think that's the bulk of it. Now, when we got to the fuel injection, this is where it got interesting. Oh, okay. Here's another thing. The ports and the valves too. I rebuilt this 1.6 that's in here. Okay, I went through the engine before I put it in. So when I had the head off, I measured the port. I measured the valves first off, and the valves are much bigger in a 1.6 than they are in a 1.3. And the other thing is the ports are bigger. These intake ports are about a 1/16 larger in diameter on the 1.6. So this is a 1.3 intake, and they say you can bolt that on and use it, but I didn't want to. I switched everything over. There's a couple minor differences. This right here goes to your map sensor, and on the 1.6 it's back here. No big deal. Almost every other connection is the same. All of these are the same, so you just take your fittings out of your 1.3, all these fittings, and you put them into your 1.6 intake. The Egr valve moves over here, not a big deal, because you can see here where the Egr connections come right around, and if you want to run your Egr, which I hooked it up on this one, they bolt right on, because you got enough. I had to lengthen this hose. This one hose I had to lengthen, but the rest of it's the same, original stuff. Okay, so now we talked about the intake manifold and why I use the 1.6 intake, because of the bigger ports. They match the bigger ports on the head. So then I thought, well, I didn't know what to do with the fuel injection. So I tried the 1.3 throttle body. Originally, I started with the, because I know it ran with that on there before. And by the way, this distributor is 1.3 original distributor, and the timing set exactly where it was in the 1.3. So that all works. That just plugs and plays. So, but I thought, well, I could probably get away with the throttle body the same way. Not even close. The throttle body hole in the 1.6 is way bigger than this is the 1.3. It's way bigger on the 1.6. Now, I knew that. I could see that. But what I didn't know was, would the 1.3 fuel injection feed enough fuel to the 1.6? And I thought probably it would. I thought it would run okay. Not even close. It was so lean. Oh my. You could barely, it had no power. It was just it was like, it was starving for fuel, which really surprised me, because I have taken 305 Chevy engines out of throttle body vans, late 80s, throttle body vans and trucks, and put 350 blocks in, and bolted the original 305 throttle body right on there, and they run beautiful. Not in this case. This 1.6 needs more fuel. So I did convert. I did put I did today put the 1.6 throttle body on there, and to do that, the plug is different. This connection's different. On the 1.3, your fuel injector comes over into these two wires right here, and these 4 wires run your throttle position sensor. But on the 1.6, these 4 wires run your throttle position, and these 2 wires run an idle speed motor, which we abandoned. I abandoned that, and I'll show you in a second. And then you had a separate pigtail that came over for just the injector. So what I did was I cut. First off, I abandoned this idle speed motor here. You don't need it. Okay, you just got to manually set this probably only steps up for the air conditioning, I'm guessing. And this is your hot water step up here anyway. So you do have high idle speed enhancement through this device in the bottom, which gets hot water and it shuts it down. So that all works fine. And then you got your basic idle stop adjustments back in here, which you can set anyway, with that screw down in there. So, and it runs beautiful without this idle speed motor. So what I did was I cut these wires off. They used to go to this plug. Then I cut the end of that pigtail off that ran the injector and went to the separate plug, and then I tied them together. I soldered these connections. I got to tape this up a little better yet. I soldered joint, and I put them back into the original 2 spots so that the original harness would plug in. So, and now it runs great with the 1.6 throttle body on there. Oh man, she really runs good. So that's about it. Here's the different. Here's where the map sensor is different. I don't know. The 1.6 has got this loop on there. I don't know what that's about, but I kept it. And then that goes over and feeds your map sensor. It used to come off the 1.3 over here. No big deal. That just moves. Everything else stays the same. All the other connections are the same on the intake manifold. So it's a pretty straightforward conversion with those things in mind. Oh, and you also have to have the starter for the 1.6, because the 1.3 starter is fatter and it won't fit in the hole. Go figure. So when you get your donor engine, you want to be sure to get a starter, an alternator, your pulleys, all your pulleys, air conditioning compressor if you have air. Oh, flywheel. You use the original Suzuki flywheel and clutch. And that worried me because when I seen the 1.6 flywheel, it had drill marks in it. I thought, did they externally balance this engine? If so, I'm going to be in trouble. Those drill marks must have just been to balance the flywheel only, because the 1.3 flywheel did not have any drill marks in it, and it's on there, and this engine's glass smooth. So you use your Suzuki original 1.3 flywheel and clutch. It all works perfect. So with that said, let's start it up so you can hear it run. And then I'll stop rattling in your ear. Oh, it quit for some reason. Oh, anyway. Let's make sure everything's okay. I just had it out and put about 20 miles on it, so it runs real good. Runs 75 miles an hour right now. Lots of power compared to what I had. So anyway, that's it. If you have any questions, I can't think of anything else. I use the header off the 1.3, the original header. It bolts on. It's close to the engine, but it works. That's it. I can't think of anything else. If you have any questions, fire away. Bye.